Welcome back, my darlings. Today I'm going to be doing a brand new Seat Leon Estate. I think this is one of the best looking cars in the Seat range at the moment, and I have to say I think Seat are absolutely crushing it when it comes to design, especially compared to the rest of the VW group. So yeah, good. I'm looking forward to working on it. It's a brand new car, as I said, so this is going to be a full deep wash and a chemical decon. I'm not going to clay it because every time you clay, in my experience at the very least, you have to polish it, and that's not in scope for this one today. So I'm going to give it a deep clean. I'm going to use CarPro Reset as the shampoo. I'm going to use Bilt Hamber Korrosol for the iron fallout removal, a bit of AutoSmart TARDIS, probably a bit of Bilt Hamber Auto Wheel to, again, decon those pretty deep. And also, I'm then going to finish it with the brand new Turtle Wax Flex Wax. This is the graphene infused stuff they've released. It's the Hybrid Solutions Pro line. I'm really looking forward to giving this a go. I think the colour of this car, it's a lovely metallic red, will look fantastic with this on it, especially as this has quite a good jetting effect, so it darkens it down, adds a bit of clarity. So that's going to look great. And the last bit, I guess, will be I'll be finishing the tyres with Gion tyre. Not the Express, the full fat version instead, which will give it great durability and a really lovely look and finish. So, without much further ado, I'm going to have a costume change and I'll see you out by the car for some before shots. I think I'm going to do it as panned photos this time rather than panning video because the photos are higher res. So we're going to do that and we'll see how that comes out in the video. So bear with me and I'll see you out there. I think the little experiment here with panning images rather than panning video hasn't worked as well as I thought it might, so I'm going to go back to the panning video for the next ones. So the car's not filthy. It's had delivery miles plus a few. It's gone backwards and forwards to school a bit, but I mean that's about it at the moment, especially as that's the limit of what we can do under the lockdown restrictions. So there's still plenty of brake dust and just a bit of atmospheric dust and a bit of road dirt, but it's not a dirty car, and that's a good thing because it means there's not too much for us to fight through to get it looking fantastic. We're about to see the new foaming pump spray that I've used, and in that is the Bilt Hamber Surfex HD, and that was in there at 10:1, which is pretty good, pretty strong concentration, and it did a good job of cleaning up those tyres. So the snow foam going on here is Bilt Hamber Auto Foam, again 4% PIR. But you might notice it looks a bit thicker this time, and that's because I've serviced the foam lance and I've changed the orifice from a 1.25mm orifice in the lance to a 1.1mm, which means the water is hitting the gauze inside it at a higher pressure and producing a thicker foam, which for a product like Auto Foam is great because it is famously low foaming. As I'm busying around here cleaning the car, I've got the CarPro Reset shampoo in the buckets today. Now you may be thinking I'm a bit brave washing in full sunlight. One thing, it's about 10 degrees ambient temperature, maybe 15 in the sun, and the other thing is I've got deionized water in my loop. So my pressure washer has a deionized water vessel feeding it deionized water, which means it removes all the hard mineral deposits in the water and therefore I don't get water spotting. I've also taken the extra precaution of filling my wash bucket and rinse bucket with deionized water as well. So there's just no way I can get water in there or leave me water spots. It also doesn't matter too much if your wash water dries on the car. And the reason for that is you reactivate the soap again when you blast it with the hose or pressure washer. And keep an eye on the car here. The big man upstairs is giving me a help with the changing lighting to show how the colour of the car can change. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm going to do a chemical decontamination in this wash. Now, during the wash phase I realised there wasn't any tar on the bodywork, so that's fantastic. So I'm going here with the iron fallout remover, which is the Bilt Hamber Korrosol. Now, you have to be careful about using this in direct sunlight. You can't really let it dry on the paint. But you can see here that there's no colour change. There really wasn't any bonded contamination on the paintwork in terms of iron fallout, which was great, and that's rare for cars that are new because they're often left at ports hanging around, and they're great places to get a lot of iron contamination. So now it's time for the flex wax, and I'm applying it as a wet wax today. It's one of the options that you've got for applying it, and I've chosen that because the car was drying already, and I thought, well, why not use it as a drying aid and seeing how it works. In that case, it's a different use case to applying it dry, which is what I was initially planning to do. If I'd been in the shade, I would have probably dried the car normally and then applied it as a dry wax, but we'll see how we get on with this. It went on very easily, and because I did it as a wet wax, I didn't have to do any further buffing afterwards. Although I will say I noticed that while there was no residue on the paintwork, there was residue left on the glass, and that took an extra clean afterwards to really buff it up. Didn't see any of those problems, no hazing, no clouding of anything on the paintwork. That's not to say they weren't there, but it wasn't visible. And the finish, well, when we get to the afters, you're going to see it looks incredible. I think it's really set the car off. Now if you're thinking, hang on a minute, he's already dried the car and he's put the LSP on, why is he going along with the air dryer now? Well, the reason for that is I dried the car because of the fact that it was drying in the sunlight, so that's why I went ahead and did that with the flex wax. Now I'm just chasing out the last bits of water. They'll just roll off the paint because it's already been sealed, and they were, and it means there will be no water runs left on the car later. Alright then, time for the G-on tyre. The wheel is completely dry. It's been air drying, but I've also used the hot air dryer as well to finish it off and make sure it's completely dry, especially in all the crevices and around the rim here. That's all good. So G-on says to apply this with a microfiber or foam applicator. I can go for this foam one because it's shaped to go around the rim, around the wheel, which is good. And yeah, apply it. Let it soak in and buff off after 15 minutes if you want a matte look. I want a fairly glossy one, so I'm going to just put a few pumps. I need to prime the pump. Here we go, it's coming through now. It's not as thick a gel like, what do you say, like Big Wires Endurance, which is a very thick one. This is quite thin, but not watery either, so it's kind of like in between. Going on very easily. Very nice to apply there, for sure. It's definitely going on more easily than Maguire's Endurance. And the reason I'm referencing Maguire's Endurance so much is because that is really one of the other long-lasting tyre dressings out there on the market. So it's probably like a fair comparison to that. I can't remember the difference in price. I'll have a look and I'll add it in voiceover.
Oh, I love a good note to self. Both are just under £14.
I never thought that the Geon tyre was that expensive, to be honest, though. So I'm not thinking it's going to be a huge difference.
It wasn't. I just told you.
Paint a little bit on the tip of the applicator there, just so I can get into the groove. Might do a bit more because that was just priming that part of the pad as well. Try that a bit more. Yeah, there we go. Let's give it a nice bit of coverage there. Around that tread there, which is nice. As with all tyre dressings, you don't want to apply too much, otherwise you get the dreaded sling. Although this is one of those products that dries, whereas I feel like Meg's Endurance doesn't dry particularly well. If it does, it doesn't dry particularly well, but I don't think it really does dry. And that's why you get a lot of sling. The worst thing with Meg's is if you put it on too much, you will definitely get a sling. But that's a poor application rather than the product itself being bad. But I think that looks quite nice.